Ladies, men are loyal to one thing only, and that truth is something most people either overlook or don't understand. You see, it's not about how beautiful you are, how much you give, or even how long you've been with him. A man's loyalty is not bought with time or effort alone. It's built around what he respects, what gives him peace, and what makes him feel like he matters. Loyalty from a man doesn't come from pressure or force. It comes from what feeds his soul, from where he finds his worth. You could be everything on paper, loving, smart, supportive, but if a man doesn't feel like a man in your presence, if he doesn't feel seen or respected, he will start to drift, because men are loyal to the things that reinforce who they are or who they are trying to become. You have to understand how a man thinks. We're wired differently. A man is loyal to what makes him feel strong, purposeful, and stable. If a man walks into a space, whether it's a house, a car, a job, or a woman, and he feels like he's constantly failing, being judged, or undervalued, he's going to pull back. He might not say it right away. He might not even know how to put it into words, but his loyalty will start to fade, not because he's unfaithful by nature, but because he no longer feels connected to that space. A man is loyal to peace, and peace to a man looks like respect, admiration, and a sense of accomplishment. You ever wonder why a man can be so devoted to his work, his hustle, his goals? Because those things don't just pay the bills. They validate him. They tell him he's doing something right. They don't criticize or complain. They give him a sense of progress. Now imagine he comes home to a woman who doesn't believe in his vision, who nags him about what he hasn't done instead of encouraging what he's trying to do. That home doesn't feel like peace. It feels like pressure. So where do you think his loyalty is going to go? To the place that builds him, not breaks him. And that's the raw truth. Now, don't take that to mean a man can't or won't be loyal to a woman. He absolutely can, but only when she represents more than just a relationship. She has to represent peace, belief, and value. A man is loyal to a woman who reminds him of his strength, not his failures. She doesn't have to be perfect. She just has to make him feel like he can be better, like he's more than enough, even in his weakest moments. When a man finds that, you don't have to worry about loyalty. He'll give it without you asking. Let's break it down even deeper. A man is not loyal to drama. He might get caught up in it for a moment, might even respond to the chaos for a while, but that ain't home for him. That's not where he builds. That's not where he plants seeds. That's temporary noise. A man doesn't want to come home to a fight every night, to accusations, to negativity. That's not love. That's emotional warfare. A man builds loyalty in quiet. He builds it with the one who protects his peace, who stands beside him when the world beats him down. That woman becomes his anchor. He doesn't want to lose her because he knows she's rare. And here's the thing. Women often think giving more will earn his loyalty, cooking more, loving harder, pleasing him in every way. That's not where loyalty grows. Loyalty grows in the emotional and mental soil. Loyalty grows when a man feels like, this woman sees me. She doesn't just want what I do, she values who I am. That's different. That's powerful. That makes a man fight for the relationship, not run from it. And no, you can't beg a man into loyalty either. You can't cry him into caring. If he doesn't see the value in what he has, all the pleading in the world won't change that. But if a man is respected, if he's inspired, if he feels alive and seen with you, he won't need another place to rest his loyalty. He's already home. Men are loyal to what makes them feel needed in the right way, not in a desperate or dependent way, but in a way that says, I choose you because I believe in what we can build together. If you're the kind of woman who allows a man to be vulnerable and still feel like a king, who listens without tearing him down, who encourages without controlling, that man will protect you with his life. He will ride or die for you, not because he has to, but because it feels right. You gave him what the world doesn't, comfort and confidence. It's important to know, too, that men may not express this with words. Most of us were never taught how to talk about emotions. We show loyalty in action. A loyal man shows up, stays consistent, defends you in your absence, invests in you, makes plans with you, and keeps his promises. You won't have to question it because it'll be visible. A man who wants to be with you, who is loyal to you, will make you feel secure without you having to beg for it. Now, don't confuse routine with loyalty either. A man can stick around because it's convenient, but his heart is somewhere else. True loyalty means his mind, heart, and actions are aligned. He's not texting other women. He's not out late making excuses. He's not looking for an escape route. He's fully there because what he has with you is feeding him on a deeper level. And when a man gets fed like that, he doesn't go hungry anywhere else. That's why you see some men with women who aren't flashy or high maintenance, but those women are queens to them because they offer something the outside world can't: peace, belief, and purpose. She's not competing with anyone because she's in a league of her own. She's the one who held him down when he was building, not just when he was shining. And that kind of loyalty is unshakable. At the end of the day, it all comes down to what a man can't live without. And I'm not talking about what he says. Watch what he returns to. Watch what he protects. Watch what he defends when things get hard. That's where his loyalty lives. It lives in the things that make him feel like he can keep going, like he's not alone in this world, like he's respected, not judged. You want a man to be loyal? Don't focus on changing him. Focus on understanding what he values, what brings him peace, and what makes him feel respected. Because men are loyal to one thing only, the thing that makes them feel most like themselves. Men are loyal to one thing only, and that one thing is not a woman, a ring, or even a promise. It's not beauty, sex, or sweet words. Men are loyal to what fulfills them emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and sometimes physically. A man doesn't stay where he is simply wanted. He stays where he feels valued. That's a deep truth a lot of people miss. You can give a man everything you think he needs and still lose him. Why? Because none of it means anything if it doesn't connect to his sense of identity and inner peace. You have to understand the way men are built. A man could be around the most beautiful woman in the world, and if he feels disrespected, dismissed, or diminished in her presence, he will emotionally detach. He might still be there physically. He might still smile and nod, but his spirit has already left. Because a man's loyalty isn't tied to outer appearances. It's tied to how he feels in a situation. Men aren't usually taught to express this, but it doesn't mean they don't feel it deeply. They're loyal to the energy that makes them feel safe and significant at the same time. That's why some men stay in careers they hate, cars they love, or routines that seem boring to others, because those things make them feel secure, accomplished, and in control. But when it comes to people, especially women, a man stays loyal only if he feels respected. And that kind of respect goes deeper than just being nice. It's in how you speak to him when no one's watching, how you believe in him when he doesn't believe in himself, and how you handle him in moments of weakness. A man might tolerate a relationship without those things for a while, but make no mistake, he will start to look for what he's missing elsewhere. That doesn't always mean with another woman. Sometimes it's in his work, his friends, or even complete withdrawal. He shuts down emotionally because the one thing that could have held him, the thing that brought him peace and belief, has been lost. That's when you'll start saying, he's changed. But the truth is, he's been changing slowly every time he felt misunderstood, judged, or unappreciated. Loyalty leaks away in silence, long before it breaks with sound. So what keeps a man loyal? It's that feeling of being grounded, not being controlled or smothered, but grounded, like he has a reason to keep showing up, to keep trying, to keep growing. When a man sees that a woman values not just what he does, but who he is underneath, he gives her something rare, his commitment, not just his presence. Because loyalty is more than not cheating. Loyalty is what a man gives with his attention, his focus, his energy, his thoughts. A loyal man is one whose heart is aligned with his actions, whose spirit has chosen you even when things get tough. But if you're giving him stress every day, if you're criticizing his every move, doubting his vision, or comparing him to others, don't be surprised when his loyalty shifts, because men are human too. They may act tough, they may go silent, but inside they're just like anybody else. They break down, they get tired. They want to be seen. When a woman becomes the source of that emotional burden instead of emotional rest, she slowly loses his trust. And when trust is gone, loyalty is just a performance, not a connection. It's not about being perfect or being a yes woman. A man doesn't want a robot. He wants honesty, but he wants it wrapped in respect. He wants to be challenged, but not belittled. He wants growth, but he doesn't want to be fixed like a broken object. When a man feels like he can bring his full self to you, flaws and all, and you'll still treat him like a king, he'll treat you like his queen. Not because he has to, but because his heart won't let him do otherwise. And it's not just about words. Anyone can say they support you, but loyalty grows when you back him up when no one's clapping, when you remind him who he is when the world tells him he's nothing, when he hits a rough patch and you don't run. That stays with a man. That earns a kind of loyalty that's unshakable. He may not say it out loud, but every sacrifice you make, every bit of patience you show, every time you see the man beneath the surface, that sticks with him. You also have to understand men are not always expressive, so don't think he's not loyal just because he's not emotional or talkative. Some men show their loyalty in how they work harder, how they show up, how they protect you, how they invest in you. Look at the consistency, not just the romance. Pay attention to how he handles you when you're not at your best. A man's loyalty isn't shown in the good times. It's shown in how he stands in the storm with you, not just how he shines in the sun. Now, let's not pretend every man is built for loyalty. Some men aren't ready. Some haven't healed. Some are just not serious. But the ones who are, the ones with goals, character, and maturity, those men give their loyalty like armor. Once it's on, it's hard to take off. And once they give it, they protect what they're loyal to with everything they've got. That's why it's so important for a woman to understand what loyalty means to a man. It's not about rules. It's about feeling like he belongs, like he's understood, like he can trust you with his truth. You don't win a man's loyalty by chasing him, by pleasing him endlessly, or by trying to be perfect. You win it by being real. Be the one place he can be flawed but not rejected. Be the one voice that cuts through the noise with faith, not fear. Be the one woman who doesn't try to change him, but inspires him to grow. Because men are loyal to the one thing they can't replace, peace. And peace to a man doesn't look like silence. It looks like safety, like understanding, like value. So if you're wondering where your man's loyalty lies, look at what he protects. Look at what he returns to when he's drained. Look at where he gives his time without being asked. That's where his heart lives. And once you understand that, you'll realize that loyalty is not about keeping him around. It's about becoming the one place he never wants to leave. Because when a man finds that one thing that gives him peace, purpose, and pride, he'll be loyal to it like nothing else in this world. Men are loyal to one thing only, and that one thing is what gives them a deep and personal sense of identity, security, and purpose. You can give a man love, affection, sex, time, loyalty, and even your soul. But if what you're giving doesn't touch him in the right place emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, it won't make him stay. Loyalty for a man is not about what looks good on the outside. It's about what feels right on the inside. And when something aligns with his inner peace or his core values, that's where his loyalty will live. You see, a lot of women think that men stay loyal to people, but a man doesn't stay loyal just because of a person. He stays loyal to a feeling. A man can love you, but if he feels disrespected, constantly criticized, or emotionally neglected, that love won't translate into loyalty. He might care, but he won't stay rooted. A man is loyal to what feeds him in the ways he doesn't always know how to ask for. He's loyal to what makes him feel strong, accepted, heard, and at ease. That's why some men stay in toxic jobs or unbalanced friendships, not because they enjoy suffering, but because those environments offer something they interpret as valuable: structure, familiarity, ego boost, or validation. Now apply that same principle to relationships. If a man finds a woman who brings peace into his life, who believes in his journey, who supports his ambition without crushing his masculinity, he'll see her as more than a partner. She becomes a foundation. He will protect that foundation. He'll be loyal to it not out of fear or obligation, but because it makes him feel whole. A man will never be loyal to confusion. If a relationship is filled with emotional chaos, constant suspicion, and no clarity, he will shut down. He might not walk away immediately, but he will withdraw emotionally. The truth is, men want simplicity, not in the sense of being bored or unchallenged, but in the sense of knowing that what they're giving their time and energy to has meaning. If a man feels like he's constantly fighting just to prove his worth in a relationship, that's not peace. That's war. And men don't build homes in war zones. Some women think that if they love a man harder, he'll be more loyal. If they give more, he'll stay. If they forgive more, he'll change. But it doesn't work like that. A man doesn't stay because of how much you give. He stays because of how much he feels when he's with you. It's the emotional impact that keeps him. That's why you can see men leave good women and chase the wrong ones, because somewhere in the wrong one, he found something that felt emotionally rewarding or validating in the moment. That doesn't mean he made a good choice, but it does mean he followed what he was loyal to in that moment, whether it was peace, ego, or escape. Men are loyal to what reflects their identity. If a man sees himself as a protector, he'll be loyal to those he feels responsible for. If he sees himself as a leader, he'll be loyal to where he feels respected. If he sees himself as a provider, he'll be loyal to where his contributions are acknowledged. That's why respect is such a big deal. If a man doesn't feel respected in a relationship, everything else starts to collapse, even if there's love. Respect for a man is oxygen. Without it, he can't breathe. And if he can't breathe, he won't stay. A woman who can create a space where a man feels like he doesn't have to perform to be loved, but can still be challenged to grow. That's the woman he'll be loyal to. Loyalty grows when a man feels like he can come as he is, but still be called to a higher standard with grace, not judgment. He's not looking for perfection. He's looking for someone who can see his flaws and not weaponize them. He wants to be inspired, not insulted. A man who finds a woman that pushes him without demeaning him, that woman owns his loyalty forever. There's another side to this too. A man's loyalty is often built when he hits his lowest point, when everything falls apart. His money, his career, his confidence, his dreams. He pays close attention to who's still standing by his side, not in pity, but in partnership. When a woman stands in those shadows with him, when she believes in him, when he has nothing to offer, when she speaks life into him when the world only gives him doubt, that stays with him. He never forgets it, and even if he can't articulate it, his loyalty to her will be unbreakable, because she loved him when he barely loved himself. A man may not always show his loyalty in obvious ways. Some men aren't romantic or emotionally expressive, but their loyalty's in the details, in how they protect you, how they show up consistently, how they include you in their future, how they make sacrifices without keeping score. You've got to understand his language of loyalty. It might not look like flowers and dates. It might look like late nights working so he can provide, fixing things without being asked, or defending you behind closed doors. Pay attention to the actions more than the words. You cannot teach a man to be loyal. That decision has to come from within. But you can become someone a man wants to be loyal to, not by pretending to be something you're not, but by showing up with authenticity, love, and patience. Show him that you're not just there for the good times, but for the journey. Be his calm when life is loud. Be his mirror when he forgets who he is. Be his reminder that love doesn't have to be perfect to be worth it. Men don't want to be told how to be men. They want to be allowed to be men in a way that aligns with who they are. They don't want to be reshaped. They want to be respected. They don't want to be chased. They want to be chosen. And once a man feels like he's chosen by someone who sees the real him and still shows up with love and loyalty, he will never want to lose that, because men are loyal to one thing only: the thing that makes them feel most like themselves, the thing that reminds them they're not alone in this world, the thing that says, you are enough and I'm with you. Men are loyal to one thing only, and that one thing is not necessarily a woman, a title, or a commitment. It's what gives them a sense of power without pressure, of worth without judgment, and of peace without confusion. You can try to buy a man's time, you can win his attention, and you might even capture his love. But if you don't connect with what he's truly loyal to, you won't be able to hold him. He might stay physically, he might go through the motions, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, he'll be elsewhere. Men are loyal to whatever or whoever gives them identity, peace, and purpose. If you want to understand a man, don't listen to what he says. Watch what he protects. When everything around him starts to fall apart, a man's loyalty is not up for negotiation when it's tied to something real. When a man finds a place, a person, or a passion that fuels him, that believes in him, that respects him, you won't have to remind him to stay. He'll wake up fighting for it every single day. And it's not because he's scared to lose it. It's because he knows he found something rare. Loyalty for a man is not about romantic words or extravagant gestures. It's about how safe he feels being himself. It's about how much of his soul he can bring into the space without fear of being judged, manipulated, or made to feel small. A man doesn't stay where he's tolerated. He stays where he's elevated. He stays where he feels like he can be flawed and still be seen. He stays where he doesn't have to defend himself all the time or prove his worth with every step. When a woman becomes that kind of space for a man, she's no longer just his partner. She becomes part of his identity. She becomes the one thing he protects, like he protects his name. But when a woman becomes the source of confusion, chaos, and constant emotional unrest, that's when the man starts emotionally clocking out, even if his body is still in the room. Men are not always expressive about what they feel, but that doesn't mean they're not paying attention. Every time you disrespect him, every time you downplay his dreams, every time you make him feel like he's not good enough, it chips away at his loyalty. It doesn't always result in arguments. Sometimes it results in silence. He stops opening up. He stops making plans. He stops dreaming with you. And when a man stops dreaming with you, he's already started dreaming without you. Loyalty for a man isn't about being perfect. It's about connection, deep connection. It's about being with someone who gets him, who listens beyond words, who supports his efforts even when they don't look like success yet. If a woman can see the king in a man before he builds his castle, he will never forget her. He will make sure she has a throne beside him, not because she asked for it, but because she believed in him when he had nothing but a blueprint and a burden. And that kind of loyalty runs deeper than love. It's rooted in gratitude, in memory, in legacy. Some people confuse loyalty with habits. Just because a man is around doesn't mean he's loyal. Just because he calls, texts, and spends time with you doesn't mean he's loyal to you. He might be loyal to the comfort, to the convenience, or to the routine. But true loyalty shows up in what he does when you're not watching, in how he speaks about you when you're not there, and in the way he protects your name, your heart, and your vision, even when it's hard. Loyalty means he's not just with you when it's easy, but when it's uncomfortable, uncertain, and inconvenient. Men are loyal to what helps them feel like they're not just surviving, but growing. That's why so many men attach themselves to goals, routines, or people that bring structure to their chaos. When a man finds a woman who becomes a source of structure without suffocation, who gives him direction without domination, and who provides love without conditions, he doesn't just love her. He becomes fiercely loyal to her. That doesn't mean he'll never be tempted, never have weaknesses, or never mess up. It means when push comes to shove, he'll always come back to the one place that feels like truth. There's a misconception that men only care about respect in public, but the deepest kind of loyalty comes from how a man feels he is treated in private, behind closed doors, when the lights are off and it's just the two of you. Does he feel like a man, or does he feel like a burden? Does he feel appreciated or tolerated? Does he feel empowered or emasculated? Because whatever answer he gives to those questions is directly tied to where his loyalty will go. A man can handle the world hating him if he feels like his woman understands him. But if the world praises him and she tears him down, he's going to lose something within himself, and eventually he's going to lose interest in the relationship. A man's loyalty is rarely loud. It doesn't always show up in long texts or Instagram posts. Sometimes it's in how he looks at you when you're not looking, how he adjusts to your needs without being asked, how he protects your peace without complaining, how he shows up even when it's hard, even when he's tired, even when he's broken. That's the loyalty that counts. Not performative loyalty, but intentional, silent, and consistent loyalty. Broken loyalty, loyalty. Men are loyal to the space that gives them freedom to be vulnerable without being weak. That's why some men stay loyal to their mothers, to their childhood mentors, or to friends who've seen them fall and helped them get back up. Loyalty grows where there's emotional safety. When a man finds that in a woman, it's more powerful than physical attraction or surface-level connection. He may find 1,000 women attractive, but he'll only be loyal to the one who sees the depth in him and loves him there. You can't force a man to be loyal, but you can build the kind of connection that inspires it. Be the place he returns to when the world gets loud. Be the reminder that he's more than his paycheck, more than his past, more than his performance. Be the one who stands still when everything else is shaking. And if you do that, not only will you have his heart, you'll have his loyalty. Because men are loyal to one thing only, and that's whatever reminds them that they are still worthy, still wanted, and still a man.